World events in 1805. USA. In 1805, several key events shaped the early history of the United States, including the start of the Lewis and Clark expedition and the end of the First Barbary War. The expedition, launched in April, aimed to explore the Louisiana Purchase and reach the Pacific Ocean. The First Barbary War, which had begun in 1801, concluded in June with a treaty with Tripoli. Thomas Jefferson was sworn in for his second term as president, and George Clinton was sworn in as vice president. The U.S. Senate acquitted Justice Samuel Chase of impeachment charges. The Michigan Territory was created on January 11th, and the Louisiana Territory was established on March 3rd. Britain. In 1805, Britain's key historical event was the Battle of Trafalgar, a decisive naval victory over a combined French and Spanish fleet. This battle solidified Britain's dominance of the seas and contributed to Napoleon's eventual downfall. The London Docks, a significant infrastructure project, officially began operation on January 20th. The Ordnance Survey began systematic publication of maps of England and Wales on April 18th. France. In 1805, France faced a coalition of European powers, Austria, Russia, and Great Britain, in the War of the Third Coalition. Battle of Ulm, October 16th to 19th. A decisive French victory where Austrian Field Marshal Max von Leibrecht surrendered his entire army after being surrounded by Napoleon's Grande Armée. Battle of Austerlitz, December 2nd. A major French victory against the combined forces of Russia and Austria, which effectively destroyed the Third Coalition. Battle of Trafalgar, October 21st. A major British naval victory against a combined French and Spanish fleet, resulting in the death of Admiral Horatio Nelson, but also ending Napoleon's plan to invade Britain. Napoleon's campaign in Austria. Napoleon moved his forces to face Austria, leading to the Ulm campaign and eventually Austerlitz. Peace Treaty of Pressburg, December 26th. The treaty forced Austria to leave the Third Coalition and end hostilities with France. Madame Clicquot takes over. On the death of her husband, Madame Clicquot Ponsardin inherited his champagne business and became known as Veuve Clicquot. Turkey. Battle of Derna. On April 27, 1805, a small force of U.S. Marines, led by Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon, with the support of Greek mercenaries and Arab cavalry, captured the city of Derna in a surprise attack. This victory, along with other naval successes, forced Tripoli to agree to a treaty that ended the conflict and secured an end to the piracy. Russia. Battle of Austerlitz, December 2nd, 1805. This battle, fought near Austerlitz in Moravia, now Slavkov-Ubrna, Czech Republic, saw Napoleon's French forces decisively defeat a combined Austro-Russian army. The Russian army, under the command of General Amai Kutuzov, suffered heavy losses, with about 15,000 casualties and 11,000 captured. Despite the defeat at Austerlitz, Russia did not retreat from the conflict. They continued to fight Napoleon in Poland in 1806 and 1807. Iran. In 1805, Iran, under the Qajar dynasty, was experiencing internal political instability and external pressures from European powers like Russia and Britain. The country was also engaged in the Russo-Persian War, 1804 to 1813, which had begun in 1804. Fath Ali Shah, the ruler of Iran, sought to secure an alliance with France to counter Russian influence. Canada. Toronto Purchase Treaty, 1805. The Crown purchased land from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, including 250,830 acres, for 10 shillings. The Mississaugas retained exclusive fishing rights on Etobicoke Creek. Fourth Parliament Sessions. The Fourth Parliament of both Upper Canada and Lower Canada convened in 1805, with sessions starting in January and February. Arrival of the 100th Regiment. The 100th Regiment of Foot arrived in Nova Scotia. Colombia. In 1805, Colombia's history saw the birth of Juan José Nieto Gil, a future president and military leader of African descent. Also in 1805, Simón Bolívar, a key figure in the independence movements of South America, swore to end Spanish rule in the Americas. Chile. Trial Slave Ship Rebellion. A group of West African Muslims, purchased by the Spanish and transported to Chile, led a successful rebellion on the slave ship Trial in December 1804. The rebellion, led by Babwa and Mori, resulted in the takeover of the ship, with most of the Spanish crew members killed and Captain Benito Sereno held hostage. The freed Africans sailed the ship in the South Pacific for several months, hoping to return to Senegal, eventually reaching the coast of Chile. Construction of La Moneda Palace. The La Moneda Palace, which would later become the Presidential Palace, began construction in 1805. It was initially built as a mint, La Moneda. Peru. In 1805, Peru was experiencing a period of crisis marked by severe droughts, epidemics, mining stoppages, and widespread famine in Upper Peru. India. In 1805, a key event in Indian history was the conclusion of the Second Anglo-Maratha War, which had begun in 1803. This war resulted in significant territorial losses for the Maratha Confederacy, with some regions coming under direct control of the British East India Company. The British also secured further advantages through Treaty of Arjunga with other Maratha leaders, expanding their influence in the region. Thailand. In 1805, several significant events transpired in what was then known as Siam, now Thailand. King Rama I, the founder of the Rattanakosin Kingdom, ordered the compilation of the Three Seals Code of Law. Furthermore, Siam's control over Lan Na, northern Thailand, was consolidated, with Chiang Saen being annexed after the Burmese-Siamese War concluded in 1805. Japan. In 1805, Japan continued to implement its Tokugawa shogunate policies of isolation and self-sufficiency, known as Sakoku. While trade with Korea was permitted through Tsushima Island, it was strictly regulated and limited to specific locations and goods. The Bunraku Puppet Theater also opened in Osaka around this time. Australia. In 1805 in Australia, William Bligh was appointed as the fourth governor of New South Wales, and John MacArthur returned to the colony as a civilian settler after resigning from the New South Wales Corps. John MacArthur was a British Army officer, entrepreneur, landowner, and politician who was a highly influential figure in the establishment of the colony of New South Wales. 1805 marked the beginning of whaling operations in Sydney, with the establishment of the first whaling vessels in the city. Nigeria. In 1805, key historical events in Nigeria included the founding of the Kano Emirate during the Fulani Jihad and the second expedition by Mungo Park, a Scottish explorer, to trace the Niger River. Kenya. In 1805, Kenya's history was largely characterized by the continued interactions and migrations of various ethnic groups, including Kushites and Bantu people, as well as ongoing trade with Arab traders. Thank you for watching. See you soon.